All right, welcome back. Now let's move on to our first discussion on Daybreak this morning. Now, examination malpractice is viewed as fraud within the school system, and it occurs at primary, secondary, and tertiary levels of education in Nigeria. In other words, examination malpractice is a corrupt practice within the educational system. This practice is thriving strongly in our system because the culture of hard work, academic excellence, honesty, decency is fast eroding. The West African Examination Council, WAEC, has disclosed that 56 rogue site operators and about 15 others comprising of students, school proprietors and teachers were apprehended over their involvement in examination malpractice during the 2023 May-June Senior Secondary School Certificate Examination. Now, 50% of Nigerian students have been victims of examination malpractice, and they failed a subject due to examination malpractice as well. A research conducted by Edu Padi suggests that over $1 million is lost to examination malpractices in Nigeria every year. Now let's take a look at this report by Jimmy Adzande.
Since the alleged falsification of our result, there have been accusations and counter-accusations between the body and Mesoma before her eventual admission for falsifying the result. For Makurdi residents, the controversy has exposed a scale of societal decay as well as an erosion of morals which require repair.
Because as far as I'm concerned, it's still an allegation, but it shows lapses in our system nonetheless. Because when did they sit for the exam? Why has it taken so long for them to be revealing that this is a forged case?
What we are saying that many people have collected the same results and they have sent to universities, and universities have checked the same results that are not sincere, and the JAMB has approved these results, and those people are in the university.
Others are concerned that JAMB has much more work to do to standardize its operations and maintain the integrity of the examination.
So JAMB on their own part also should standardize their operations, so that somebody's results should not be a mystery. Once you have access, you should check, and confirming its authenticity shouldn't be an issue at all.
JAMB have to work on their system very well, because if people lost faith that this JAMB is no longer producing the right results, it's not telling the truth of academics knowledge, then automatically people will start doubting anything the institution does.
But I believe there are so many fake results that have gone unnoticed. And all JAMB has to do is they need to check their cyber security and maybe upgrade it and improve on certain areas to curtail issues like this.
They also said the controversy should be blamed on poor parenting and the over-reliance on paper qualification for assessing one's competence.
So the value system has eroded so that children are being encouraged also to go through this means. We are showing them that you need to find some smart way to excel. So parents have their own lapses too.
See somebody who forge a result, they cannot defend. They get big marks or high marks, and coming to proving it maybe in their field of specialization or what the result says, it becomes a problem. So I think there should be other means of assessing our capabilities rather than depending on paper results.
JAMB has confirmed that the candidate actually scored 249 and not the 362 she allegedly forged. Meanwhile, JAMB has withdrawn Mesoma Ejikemejoy's result and barred her from partaking JAMB examination for 3 years. Jimmy Azandi, Trust TV News, Makurdi.
Okay, you saw a cross-section of people there having their say on exam malpractice. And still talking about that, we actually have a guest in the studio to discuss this very touchy and important issue with us. He's Professor Yao Damagum. He's a lecturer, Department of Accounting, University of Abuja. Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us on the show this morning.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
All right, so Professor, now while I was actually, going through the intro, there's this particular sentence that actually caught my attention, and I would love to have your thoughts about it. Now, it says the culture of hard work, academic excellence, honesty, decency is fast eroding in our society in Nigeria. Do you agree with that? If you do agree with that, how bad is it?
Okay, thank you very much. We have to go back to the basis of why do we really even try to educate ourselves? We educate ourselves so that at least we can have values in the society, we develop the society. And to be able to add that value, there should be a culture of honesty, decency, in whatever you're doing, culture of hard work. So when that person is talking about erosion, actually the level of erosion is unimaginable. And that's what is bringing us into this issue of malpractice. We want to cut corners. We want to do anything as quickly as we want to do it in order to make it in life. So when you talk about erosion, actually, I 100% agree with him. And if not, I can even say I'm 110% in agreement with, that idea of erosion in our value system, in our belief system, in our culture about hard work. So almost everything is gone. Especially the children of nowadays, everybody wants to come up without really putting in much effort. You want to really become a big person overnight. You want to, make it. So in that process, what do you expect? Somebody will just say, okay, let me cut corners. And there's a saying that there's no shortcut to anywhere worth going. So now we have found ourselves, we want to go somewhere, we want to use a shortcut. And then we are now in this kind of quagmire whereby people just want to, do anything to get away with it. So I quite agree with you that that culture of hard work, decency, has actually been eroded considerably in our society.
All right, Professor Yao, the question I want to even ask is, let's start from the beginning, right? Okay. When you talk about malpractice, people know that you have to take exams. But for us to even have to discuss malpractice, we have to go back to the root of why is exams necessary? Like, why do people need to take exams? So please, can you explain to us, for people to have a wide knowledge, what's the necessity of writing an exam in the first place?
Okay, thank you very much. You see, the issue of examination is an assessment. You really want to assess the person based on the kind of training you have given to him. You have subjected him to kind of training. Now you want to assess him or her to find out, has he really gotten that knowledge you wanted to actually pass on? And the only way you can do it actually is through assessment. There are several ways you can do assessment. You can have an interview, you can have a test, several ways that we go about, conducting our test. It could be experimental. You go to the laboratory, you're asked to set up an experiment and see the result, and so on and so forth. So the essence of examination, actually, that's what we call it, examine. You test somebody's capability in terms of the targeted knowledge you wanted him to have. So at the end of the day, you are now going to really scale him. Want to put him on a scale, and there must be a way of determining whether he has really gotten that knowledge, and that's why we use the idea of a mark. There should be a pass mark. Have you passed? When we say you have passed, it means you have arrived, you have made it to the level. And if we are thinking about a certain skill, we want you to have a skill. The way I'm saying that, you have gotten up to 50% of the ability to exhibit that skill. So the essence of examination is that we set a target. If we train you, you should be able to perform ABC. Now we want to test you. We set up some questions and see, either practically or theoretically, to ask you.
So this is to the advantage of, the student. Of
course. It's an advantage to the student. And if you look at by extension, why are we training the student? We are training the student for the larger society. If we're in secondary school, we want you to pass your work with flying colors so that you get to the university, you have a very good degree that you can defend. Then the society will benefit. Anywhere you're working, you're going to exhibit that knowledge of your graduate. So the essence of tests is that we don't want to let people into the society with half-baked knowledge. So that's why we want to test them. If you're coming to university, you should have 5 credits, including English and mathematics, isn't it? So how do you obtain that? You must have to write an exam. So that is your examination. We test you, we see if you're okay, then we say carry on.
Okay. All right, so we are moving on, still on this particular discussion. We also have joining us via Zoom, Professor Usman Mohammed. He's a lecturer, Department of International Relations, Kaduna State University. Good morning, Professor Usman, and thank you so much for joining us on Daybreak.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so okay. All right, so WAEC actually disclosed that, 56 rogue site operators and about 15 other comprising of students, and school proprietors and teachers, were actually apprehended over their involvement in examination malpractice, in the 2023 May-June Senior Secondary School Certificate Examination. Now, what factors would you actually say is actually responsible for this, a large number of exam malpractice in our education system?
Well, I think that Professor Damagun have already talked about the issue of ethics and morality. The essence of the exam is assessment of student knowledge. It may not be the truest means of assessing whether student has enough knowledge about what he or she has done. But the essence is to assess and to grade. In competition by the students to have higher grade, they employ all sorts of means. And examination is not only to assess those grading, but in character and in conduct. So when you patronize street vendors who have license to register and do so many other things, they can go extra mile. And JAM offices have not, from inception, monopolized this very practice. So you will have a lot of problems. These issues have become business, like anywhere you go. And especially when you go to JAM offices, you see all those business centers surrounding JAM offices. And probably they collude with some officials in the JAM offices. And today, you will find everything is business as normal. Everything goes on. So I think that JAM needs to police all its websites. It needs to police more about its results and how students must not compromise together with some staff in the JAM offices. Compromising examination result will not give it a credible acceptance by the public, and JAM may soon pass out due to these scandalous issues we are seeing everywhere. So JAM has to be very careful.
Professor Osman, we're talking about, examination malpractice in general, and this is something that, has been going on from primary, secondary school way before that. There were times that people, used to hide the fact that they do malpractice, but it has gotten to a point where people are now doing it openly. There is the pre, there is the during, and there is the post, examination malpractice. And like Professor Damagun said, he says, it's all about producing good people and giving them, bringing them out to the society. So could it be the reason why there's a lot of chaos in the society these days?
Well, if you have half-baked students or students that have graduated and they are non-baked, as we can witness in most institutions, or after or during their NYSC, and even after their NYSC, and if you call a graduate to take minutes of meeting in any office, you will now know the decay of how this educational system in Nigeria has gone down so low. And if ASU will go on strike several times and bring to the notice of the public that the educational system standard had been going so low all along, there will be hue and cries all along. And this has given way to the students to do whatever thing they want to do, especially because there are too many for the public schools to take. You cannot divorce exam malpractice from the number of intakes that we have in the public space. It is too low, and the space is not there even any longer. Now, with the introduction of IFs in the schools, some other students might not need to go to school at all. They may need to go and keep faking certificates. That in itself is malpractice. It's not only before, during, and after exam. Even there are some students that don't even go to the school at all. They don't even write the exams, but they fake the certificates. So these are the issues that we have to really see. And exam malpractice in many forms of writing expo on their ties, under their arms, and inside papers, colluding with other students in the same exam hall to pass answers, have been on for a long time. But what we are witnessing today is too bad, because the supervision of the exam itself has become a big issue. How many students does a professor or associate professor or senior lecturer supervise? There are many.
Okay, we actually seem to have like technical issue with Professor
No,
Usman's,
even in the private, it's not.
call. Let's come back to you in the studio, Professor Yao. Now, Professor Usman actually talks about, writing expos on ties and everything, but that's not the only way malpractice actually happens. Now, what happens in a situation where there's intimidation and assault of an exam officer? Because you'd agree with me that there have been cases where even the students themselves threaten these exam officers with weapons to allow them, cheat in examination halls. What happens in that case?
Well, thank you very much. You see, the situation is very complex and multidimensional. Actually, the students themselves are involved, parents are involved, the examination bodies are involved.
Some schools
the teachers are involved.
Malpractice centers.
Yes, some schools are established as miracle centers. Once you register in those schools, you're likely to come up with flying colors, 6 credits, 9 credits, So the issue is, as you rightly said, there are a lot of situations. In fact, there was this video going on social media whereby a supervisor of WAEC, I think, asked a student to stop whatever he was doing in the class. And this student stood up, and fought with the supervisor. That's the level of decadence we're talking about. You are a student, this is a supervisor that has come to supervise you to write an exam, and you are fighting him. And the other, student also stood up and started looking what was going on. It was very, very, very terrible. Now, there are situations whereby reports whereby supervisors of examination will visit some centers, and maybe the people around, the parents will, contribute some money, come in there and meet the supervisors and say, look, go and take a rest somewhere while the exams are going on. So, gone are the days when we used to write West African Examination Council, we used to call it WASC. You have police around, the whole place is secured, you cannot really move. If you want to go and ease yourself, you are escorted to the toilet to come back, But today, I think maybe because of the large numbers, anybody can do anything and get away with it. Some students go in there with pistols, actually. When you are supervising and you're asking him to stop what he's doing,
he just
flashes and show you that, look, you're alive, or just let me have my way. So apart from physical assault, apart from a situation whereby they follow you up to the hotel and threaten you. So all these things are going on. A lot of things are going on. The students themselves have developed this culture of feeling that I can do it and get away with it.
Falsification, like this Mesoma girl.
Yes.
Yeah, that falsified her results.
Of course, this one is now an added dimension to it. It's now the modern way of doing it. You clone, you go to the system, you have a lot of ways you can access the portal, doctor the result. They do a lot, actually, in some countries. There was a report from the US whereby it was a parent that actually did it. Went to the website of the school, changed the grade of his worth, and then printed it the way he wanted it.
I think some celebrities also suffered that backlash as well,
Yes.
on that.
Yes.
All right, so you spoke about, not only the students. We know that you do it before, and everybody, there's a lot of stakeholders, involved in this criminality, because sometimes even the lecturers or the teachers push the student to it. If we're making an example of, before, that there will be maybe a kind of relationship between a student and a lecturer where they would issue the exam questions way before the exams, and then during, you have people, supervisors standing beside you and letting you cheat because they have a close relationship with you. And after, sometimes even instead of a lecturer to allow the student to resit or that exam, to repeat it, they will call that person, especially say if it's a lady. A lecturer would use that power hierarchy and just try to get her to start putting ideas into her head to tell her that you can offer something in order to get that thing. So as a lecturer, these things we know happens. So is there any way that, the schools or university boards in general are making a way to curb that kind of situation for people or students who are in a more tighter position?
Yes, that's all right. I think your analysis is quite correct. We used to have situations whereby, lecturers actually, I'm a lecturer, I've been there for more than 35 years now. I can tell you that the situation is actually deteriorating. I mean, there are situations where reported cases whereby the lecturers actually package the questions and actually reveal it to their favorite students and warn them, please don't tell anybody, I have given you this question. It happens. What we used to do in the university actually was that, and it's supposed to be the practice even right now, when a lecturer says his questions, those questions are not supposed to be his questions again. He's supposed to submit it to the department. The departmental examination board will take a look at these questions, moderate them. Are they standard? Are they okay? In fact, you're even supposed to get more questions. If you're going to test 4 questions, then you ask the lecturer to submit 12 questions. So you have 3 sets of 4 questions, isn't it? Now you moderate them and you keep them. Close to the exam period, you now select the ones you print. In that situation, even the lecturer will not know which questions are coming. Okay? That's the kind of check and balance that used to exist in the universities. But now, because of this culture of decadence, even among the academics, people that don't even have business being in the academy, you find them there. In the past, if you don't have a first-class degree or a second-class upper, you don't have business being a lecturer in the university. And you join the university because you have passion for it. I want to be a lecturer. I want to be this. I read accounting, and I know at the time I was coming as a graduate assistant. The head of the department was asking me, would you like to come back as a graduate assistant? I had that passion. Some of my colleagues say, no, I want to go to the ministry and become accountant too. They went there, they were accountant too. Some of them became accountant generals, I can tell you. But these days, somebody, maybe he lost his job somewhere, maybe he couldn't make it, he said, let me go for masters. But then he comes back, because of a large number of universities, large number of institutions, they are constrained. So they pick everybody and say, you are a lecturer. So the lecturer comes in now, this sort of practice, releasing the question to students. It happens, it's life, I know it's happening. Then during the exams, of course, if you have favorite students, you stand by them, so that as they are cheating, you turn the eye somewhere, the student will continue. Then after the exams, some of them, they even call the students, follow up, come to me, do understand. Yes.
Using money.
Using money, you pay, and then you have the grade you want. So we have to work something about it.
Let's quickly come back to you, Professor Usman. Now, can you tell us what the legal implications for examination malpractice is, and if you think these students are actually aware of the penalties that actually come with examination malpractice?
In every school, there are ethics and disciplinary committees, and these universities get onto these ethics and privilege and disciplinary committees very well. And in every department or faculty, I think the committees are working very well, very, very well. And they document all this for future implication of the students, wherever they are. The consequences is large where they work, and where they work usually refer for some attestation about this student. And the university, the faculty or the department usually dig out this information to tell the organizations where they work, their characters and their conduct, especially in the school and during exams and after exam. And that has to be revived. That's one. Secondly, anywhere where you graduate with fake result or you have done a lot of exam malpractice to get where you are, the implication is so much. For example, if you are a medical student and you have done this exam malpractice and you have graduated and you have started practice, or even if you are a lawyer, in these two fields, the consequences are so much so that you now find the courts with litigations about the practice of an individual that is not so satisfactory. If you jump the fence and you think that you have actually graduated, there is where the knowledge has to be displayed. Definitely, the knowledge must be displayed somewhere. And that is where we have a lot of issues, legal issues pending. And if you keep this malpractice and cheating, for how long will a student keep on with that even after graduation? Because he doesn't know. And you can't give what you don't know, even after graduation. So I think the National Orientation Agency need to come up with some enlightenment on these issues. And also, the universities have to really come out with some very good advertisements about exam malpractice, educating the students that it is for their own good, because the legal implication is for a lifetime. You cannot cheat and go and practice a knowledge that you don't have. Definitely, there will be one day when you will be exposed.
You're defended.
And that will be fortunate for the universities that graduated.
All right, thank you, Professor Usman, for that. A really interesting one. Professor Adam, I'm going to have a quick question for you. You know, when we go deep on a lot of this, there's also plagiarism, where it's also part of, malpractice. And students don't really know about this. Is there a way that we can, bring sensitization for people to know, and the penalty, regarding that?
Yeah, plagiarism is one of the big issues we have also in the university system. Somebody's work, you go in there now, copy it, paste it, and then claim it is your knowledge. Particularly, it's serious when we come to writing of students graduating final year projects. But what we have tried to do now is that when you go in, there are a lot of software that can actually assess the level of plagiarism in your work, like this turn it in. So we are insisting, for instance, in our university, that when you finish your project, you go and subject it to the turn it in. You have a certain percentage level of acceptance. So the turn it in will give you the level of a plagiarized portion of your work. It will underline it. When we say it's 15%, we shouldn't have anything more than 50%. Of course, you cannot write project without reference to others, but acknowledge it. So when we realize that there's element of plagiarism, we set a target that it must not exceed 15% of all the work. So now we are actually getting the students to know about it, so that when you finish, go and test for plagiarism, bring it. That will actually reduce this issue of a student going to ABU to pick another project, coming out to change the name, change the title, and just submit it and start going. So we're doing something about it.
Okay, well, we hope so. Honestly, we're camping on all the stakeholders involved, the students, the parents, the lecturers, the university board, the government in general, to help in curbing examination malpractice in order to have a better, product out there, the people, of course. Thank you so much, Professor Yauda Magun, lecturer at Department of Accounting, University of Abuja. And thank you so much, Professor Usman Mohammed, a lecturer, Department of International Relations, Kaduna State University. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure. Thank you.
All right, then, with that, we wrap up news. We wrap up, of course, I beg your pardon, Daybreak on Trust TV. Do not forget to stay tuned. You can follow us across all our social media platforms. Of course, Adeni Ajishafe will be bringing you sports updates. I am Sumaya Abubakar.
And I'm Darshan Husseina Usman. Have a pleasant weekend.